We never established last week whose turn it's supposed to be.
We didn't.
We just defaulted to Katie and it fucked everything up still. So I'll just start over. We're just starting over, not points wise. Not that we've done points in it forever.
I know.
There have been no points in forever, but we'll start the order of the game over. Jastin, A, B, C, D, or E?
We're going to go with D, but do you have anything on Kanye West for D?
Dude, he's been dropped by the world.
Yeah, like, man, dude, this collapse, bro.
All right. And while we're on that, I'm going to look directly at the camera. And I'm going to say Adidas. It took you too damn long, Adidas. It took you too damn long. It took Kanye saying, Adidas can't drop me for saying anti-Semitic shit, because there are the rumors that Adidas was founded by Nazis. Because it really depends on the version of the story you believe. The brother that started Adidas says that his brother that started Puma was the Nazi. And the brother that started Puma says the brother that started Adidas was the Nazi. So, I think they probably both were. Let's just be honest. They probably both were.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
You know, if they're both going, nope, the other one was.
Yeah, right.
They probably both were. You know, this isn't like a left-right Twix situation. Maybe it is. Maybe it is a left-right Twix because they were both just Nazis. But yes.
Man.
So that's what he was alluding to with that. And they still waited like some days to go, you know what? No more. Too damn long. Jeez. And I love my Adidases. I mean, pretty much the only tennis shoe I wear is an Adidas Superstar 2.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, I'm rocking my black on blacks.
Nice.
Yeah, they look nice. They look spectacular. But get the fuck with it, dude. Everyone else in the world had dropped his ass, and everybody's like, and it took him saying that shit, and other people going, "Really, Adidas? Like really? Like really? Fuck, man."
Yeah, like, man, it's been crazy, dude. I want to say, like, Sunday and Monday, all I kept seeing was this company is dropping it. This company is cutting ties. This company commented about no longer working with Kanye West. And I'm like, wow, man. Wow. Which was to kind of be expected, but it's just like, man, this this collapse is unlike anything. This feels unlike anything that we've seen from him before. I don't know if you had to rank his collapses. Is that even a thing? Can I even say that?
This is it.
Yeah, like this has to be the
number one.
Yeah.
No, he's going full on series finale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
so,
you know, I don't know what the fuck he's doing. And fuck, wasn't it so weird? And this, I don't give a fuck. We'll talk about it more later. But wasn't it so weird hearing a Kanye song in this movie? Like, right in the middle of all this, they're just like, hey.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
and it's, ooh. And it's bittersweet for me because I used that theme to come out as a wrestler for the longest time. Like, and so when I heard Power, at first I was kind of like, oh, Power. And then for a moment, I almost started rocking. And then for a moment I went, but Kanye West, man.
See,
what has he been doing? And I went. And then so instead of going, oh, that Kanye West, I was like, oh, that Kanye West.
Right.
Dude, I'm right there with you because like, a big chunk of my life was defined by listening to Kanye West music. Just the sheer amount of Kanye West I listened to for the longest time. And so it's that instinctualness of it. Especially like one of his old bangers comes on, you're just like, fuck yeah. And then you just like, you go, fuck yeah. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just.
And now it's going to be like that. Now it's going to be. And I have so much Kanye West on my phone.
Yeah.
I have so much on my playlist. I have so much Kanye West, man. Like even on the trip to Colorado, Kanye West kept coming on to where the friend of mine, the passenger, one of the friends I was riding with was like, man, because I just put it on like random shuffle music. And he was like, well, your phone is really feeling Kanye West on this trip. And I was like, well, yeah, I got a lot of him on my phone. And now I'm like, am I going to have to remove all this? I don't know, man. Like,
see, I'm with you on that.
It
like,
sucks.
It's that torn position of, I've already paid for it. So listening to it, and it's already on my phone. So it's not like a stream on Spotify. It's on my phone. It's downloaded because I bought it on iTunes years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yep, years ago.
He doesn't benefit at all from me listening to it now. But my worry is, and it's not even part of my worry. It's just like, the whole thing is if somebody hears that I'm listening to Kanye West, they're going to think I'm a damn Nazi.
Yeah. Can't have that. Just can't have it.
How did he go from George Bush doesn't like black people to this?
Yeah. I don't know. And this is kind of going to be a weird jump, but I think it's kind of funny. Like, I was having this conversation with my friends, and we were like, if Russell Wilson continues to do what he's doing with the Broncos, is he the football equivalent of a Kanye West collapse? Like, how do you go from like being like one of the best quarterbacks and now he's like one of the worst statistically? Yeah. And then you just keep getting these tidbits from him. Like, oh, I was doing high knees on the plane while everybody was asleep on the way to London. It's like, what? I don't know, man.
He has gone nuts too.
Exactly, right? Like,
have you seen
it
that
may not
video?
Be Nazi nuts, but with respect to football, it's almost the same damn thing. Like, what is this man doing?
I get it's a weird analogy, Jastin. It's a weird analogy, but oddly enough, I get it.
Exactly, right? Like, if you know football, you get it. Because it's kind of the same thing. And he's got this, this persona, this Mr. Unlimited and this stature. And he's all like, yeah, look at me, I'm a superstar. And he's always like kind of pushing that R3 brand and all of that kind of stuff. But it feels like when you look at the team and what's going on, he's just surrounded by chaos. And it's like,
I think in weird respects, they're both victims of the same thing. And that's their support team and the people around them.
Yes.
Aren't telling them the right things.
Yep.
For too long. And I'm not going to lie, in a weird way, as a fan, I am guilty of this too when it comes to Kanye. For too long, he threw up red flags, nowhere near as like anti-Semitism red flags or like far right-wing fascist red flags, but just the something's wrong red flags. Mm-hmm. He's thrown those up for a very long time. And I'm not gonna lie, I was guilty of looking past those because the music was so damn good.
Yep.
And now you look back at it and you're like, he has been telling us for so long that this was coming.
Yeah. I should have saw the signs. And it's so funny because we were doing the same thing with Russell Wilson. We were like, Man, I was thinking about last year when he was out there playing imaginary football with himself while he was injured in Seattle.
Not even just imaginary football. He did imaginary fan high fives.
Yep. Fan high fives. He was running. He was talking to everybody. He was like, okay, guys, like gathering up a huddle and everything like that. Just out there by himself on an actual NFL football field playing imaginary football. And I should have known then, Sterling. I should have saw it then. So like, I started thinking about all this and it just hit me. He's doing, this is becoming a Kanye West-like collapse. But anyway, I just knew you would get that. So
yeah,
it just seemed appropriate to say.
Because for so long,
yeah.
I was like, Kanye is Mount Rushmore caliber. Even if you don't necessarily think lyricist-wise, production and musicality-wise, he is up there.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I don't even want him looking at the mountain.
Yeah.
And Russell Wilson, you could argue, was Hall of Fame bound when he was playing in Seattle.
Yeah.
I don't think he is anymore.
Yeah. And I thought he was one of the best, man. I was tooting his horn, man. Like, yeah, man, he doesn't get the credit he deserves. He's underrated, but he has great numbers, this, that, and the other. He doesn't get a lot. I mean, I was a big supporter of his. And now it's like Yeezy, man. I'm just like, oh my gosh, man, what is happening? And I was in denial when stuff started happening. I was in denial, just like I was with Kanye. But now it's kind of like, at some point, man, you got to just take your hands off.
Yeah, I get it.
Like everybody else did with Kanye, I guess.
Real quick before the movie, because I want to be fair to Jastin, because Heather tried to call me out last week and say that I don't do this at the right times. So this will be the obligatory, Jastin, how about them Cowboys?
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
They just so you know, Heather, they did win this last weekend.
Yeah,
that's
did.
why I never timed up right where I was asking him that after a win.
Okay,
so
got it.
And they had a few in there. I never asked though, but they had some wins. So this is to be fair to Jastin.
And I believe the Titans won last week too, didn't they?
We did.
Yeah, somebody didn't remember them. So as I recall, so.
I mean, we effectively ended Matt Ryan's career.
I mean, yeah.
He got benched, and I don't see him signing with another team next year. So we effectively killed Matty Ice. I mean, I say that. 28-3 killed Matty Ice.
Yeah.
But Matt Ryan, formerly known as Matty Ice, his career is essentially over.
Yeah, you did that. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that, Titan fan? How do you feel about it?
You know what? Honestly,
sad?
Pretty good because he plays for the Colts. If he still played for the Falcons, I'd feel bad. But he plays for the Colts. So, you know what? Fuck the Colts. So, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad that we have this platform for you to express that.
Yeah, pretty much. Ah, I love saying fuck the Colts. It's just a fun thing to say. Man. Anyway, I guess let's go to the movie. Oh man. I just,
Are you sure you want to do it?
I don't want to.
Golly.
I don't. You know what? No, we will.
You sound like you're about to get a tooth removed.
Because I'm going from fucking Halloween Ends to this.
I know.
It's been rough, yeah.
I mean, this isn't Halloween Ends bad, but it's also not good. You're about to hear all about it. Okay. It's time to be professional and hit the button.
That's right.
You son of a bitch.
you. All right. Are you ready? Yep. Come on.
Cinema Slayers.
Hey, Cinefans, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. I'm Sterling, and as always, I'm joined by Heather and Jastin. And tonight we are going to talk about everything in between with the movie Black Adam. I mean, maybe I'm being biased. I can't actually say the words liked before I mention this movie's title.
Damn.
Even in the context of didn't like. I can't. So we will go spoiler-free recommendations and scores, and then into a more spoiler-centric section with time codes in the description to allow you to jump around if you so require in both podcast and YouTube form. With all that being said, Heather, what are your spoiler-free thoughts about this fucking movie?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a movie. This is hard because
I think it is only by actual definition because it's like 2 hours long.
You know, I think aside from the fact that I think that the dialogue in this movie was abysmal for the most part, I think for me, it felt like we picked up in this movie like 30 minutes into it. Like it didn't feel like we started at the beginning with this movie. I feel like when we start this movie, it's almost like these characters have known each other and been around each other for longer than when we're shown them for the first time. You know, it felt very much like they did not start it at the beginning. They started it like 20, 30 minutes into the movie after they already met all these things, because I feel like we don't even really get huge introductions into some of these characters that are key players. They're supposed to be key players in the film. You know, we just kind of know that they are there and they introduce who they are. And that's kind of all you really get about them. The fact that they make a big deal out of having these supposed superheroes helping with the mission of what's going on in this movie, and they actually are mostly pointless. Like a few of them, half of them are kind of unnecessary, or they are not developed enough in this movie to really care about them at all. So I don't know. I feel like this one was just kind of all over the place. It was also, it felt very slow to me. I don't really care for how they, I guess, paced, I guess, but I don't really feel like they unveiled the story in the best way that they could have done it for you to care more, for it to flow as naturally as it could have, I guess. Because you see stuff happening in the present, they do some flashbacks of things, and like, I don't know, I feel like they could have just kind of pieced it together a little bit better than they did. And the thing about it is, I love The Rock. You know, I think we all on here do. He's just a very, oh no, Sterling has changed his mind. I think he's just a very likable person, you know, and it's like, I'm not going to sit here and say he's a phenomenal actor in anything I've seen him in. He's serviceable, but he's so charming, and he's just such a likable person that even in spite of the fact that he's not like, you know, top tier actor, you want to watch his movies, or I want to watch his movies, you know, or I did before this one. But, you know, it's unfortunate because, like, as much as I enjoy The Rock, there was nothing really super good about this movie. There is one character that I feel like is the only saving grace of this film, and it's not even any of the superheroes. You know, it's crazy. Like, just the way that the way they do this is not it's not very enjoyable. And I feel like for the type of character that Black Adam is supposed to be, the portrayal of him that The Rock does doesn't quite match. And I don't know anything about the comic book version of Black Adam or anything like that, but just and we'll get into it, I'm sure, but the way that he is characterized on screen doesn't feel like it really fits with the type of character they're saying that he is in the stories about him. So I don't know. It just feels very off to me. It's a failed attempt. I mean, they have a lot of action in it. And I think that the action sort of saves them in those moments when the dialogue just gets so bad and they have nowhere else to go with the dialogue. They just cut to action pretty quickly. So I guess that kind of helps. But I just don't really feel like there's anything outstanding or anything at all memorable about this film. Like, it's one of the first like superhero movies in a long time that I just didn't really enjoy. Like, I was trying to think about it, and I want to say probably Dark Phoenix was the one that the last time I didn't enjoy a movie that much. That was a superhero movie.
Actually, I think it's New Mutant now that I think about it.
Oh, that was after.
New Mutants came out after Dark Phoenix.
And you know what?
did.
To be fair, I wasn't a big fan of the Eternals either, but I didn't dislike it as much as these movies that we just talked about. Yeah, New Mutants, you might be right, that one. And yeah, that's fair. But it's just been a while. Like, there's movies, there's the superhero movies we've seen where it's like, they've done better ones, but it's still decent. Like, for example, Thor: Love and Thunder. I didn't think it was the best, but it was still, they had enough enjoyable things in it for me to be okay with it still, for the most part. With this one, it's really hard to find anything that you really care about this movie, or anything that you're just like, that was done in an awesome way. That was an awesome character. There's just everything is very basic and very, you feel just so removed from many of these characters because you just don't care about anything going on. So yeah, unfortunately, I was not a big fan of this movie.
Jastin.
Well, I remember going into this movie, one of the things that they talked about was that this was supposed to be like a game changer film for the DCEU. Like, this was going to kind of rock and shake the boat, and that this was going to sort of change the game for the DCEU, because for a while it kind of seemed like it had lost its way. We were kind of doing like all of these different narratives, and they all kind of while in some it was sort of stated that there was a connection, a lot of them just kind of felt like their own separate thing. That cohesiveness from the DCEU, we weren't quite seeing to the extent of something like what Marvel is doing and stuff like that. So this movie was supposed to be like a game changer, or at least they touted that this was going to be a game changer movie. And the weird thing is that maybe there is one thing that did happen to where maybe you can say, okay, because this thing happened, we probably are going to go. It does hint that we could possibly be going to a certain direction. So it does do that, I guess. We'll have to see like what the impact of that is. But I was hoping that this wouldn't be a thing where it's like, okay, you get to the after credit scene, and the promise of that is the game changing element, or the thing that you should be excited about. I thought the movie was going to be game changing. The movie itself, the story itself, the character itself. was going to be the game-changing element. And unfortunately, that's wasn't the case at all. You know, it just sort of felt like, especially certain elements of this, especially the third act, it's just every third act that we've seen before in superhero movies that we don't like and often say that it's a weakness. It commits that third act sin, you know, all over again. And, you know, we thought that maybe we had sort of progressed past it, but it feels like we're back here again, where we're kind of seeing this superhero third act that has happened just many a times. And it sucks because some of the characters that it introduces in this, I wanted to like them. I liked some of the casting that was done for these characters. And some of these characters had some interesting things about them. There were some cool visual effects, you know, there was some interesting like fight sequences with them and things like that I did find somewhat enjoyable. But unfortunately, it felt like those characters needed their own film or their own, you know, streaming series or something like that. It felt like, I get what you're saying, Heather, when you said it felt like we came in 30 minutes in. It felt like there was another movie to set this up that we didn't get. It felt like there was a series before this that we needed to have to so that we could know who these characters are. And then this is the movie where we sort of are now, you know, we know these characters and now they're in this story. So that's unfortunate because it was so hard to invest in them, because beyond just the things that I'm seeing or cool visual effects or actions or kind of interesting action sequences, I don't know anything about them. And I'm waiting on the movie to tell me something about them. And it chooses to just give you the tiniest of tidbits. And it just felt like the movie was not interested in that at all. And it just sucks because I was really hoping that the introduction of this character and how he fits into the DCEU would be better. As far as like The Rock and his performance and everything, it's interesting because going into this, all I heard was, well, the Rock is just The Rock. Like even people that liked it, they were like, you know, The Rock is pretty much just the Rock. He's, you know, he's been this kind of character in every movie. You know, I didn't see anything that really stood out about his performance. But the funny thing about it to me, though, is that this felt like he actually dumbed it down, though. Like as far as his charisma and as far as like the energy that he normally brings and the charm that he normally brings to a role, it felt like he had to dumb it down because we had to be sort of this dark anti-hero DCEU character. So I think while some people are like, well, his, you know, he was the same as he is in other movies. No, I think he really sort of dumbed it down to try to be this anti-hero character. And I mean, so I guess in a way it's weird because in a way he showed a little more range because this is not the normal Rock that he plays. But in another way, it just sucked because you kind of wanted more of that, I guess. That's what you're used to. You kind of wanted some more of that. And so when the charm would come out, you know, you were like, okay, there it is a little bit, but he couldn't really go full Rock because of what this character needed to be or what they thought this character needed to be.
I can see that. Yeah.
That's kind of unfortunate too. You know, I disagree with the notion that this was a typical Rock performance. I honestly don't think it was, you know. So it's this two-headed coin of, yes, he showed some range, but the movie cared so little about like really trying to like emotionally flesh out the character. You really don't get that. And the story sort of surrounding the character I thought was okay. I just wish we had told the story better in some ways. So ultimately, like, it really sucks. This was just sort of a mixed bag for me. I don't think I'm as down on it as you two were. Like, but it definitely was disappointed. I thought I was going to get like a game changer movie. And all I really got was sort of maybe a game changing element. Maybe there's with the reveal at the end, maybe that can be something that changes something. But ultimately the movie just felt like those C-level, B-level like superhero movies, which really sucks. Like, I think if you go in just wide-eyed and you're like, all I want to see is just a bunch of CGI stuff and people flying around and action sequences and bright colors and stuff like that, and just, one-liners and stuff like that. I mean, if this is the quality of comic book film you're in the mood for, then yeah, I could see how some fans could walk out and be like, oh, it's just mindless, brainless fun. But I need more than that. I'm just a person where I need more than that. I just like my characters developed better. I just like my story to have a little more emotional resonance. And this just really didn't have that and didn't seem interested in having that. So while some of it was fun, I guess you could say, most of it for me just unfortunately wasn't. So I wound up kind of falling in the middle. There were some elements I liked, but the elements I disliked, I think, really hurt this film and just prevent it from, I just don't know how it's memorable other than what we see at the end. And that's pretty much my take on it.
I mean, I went to a theater. Some shit happened. I left. I mean, when it comes to The Rock's performance in this, I understand what you're saying, Jastin. But the thing is, to me, is this harkens back to a Rock of old. Whenever you look at stuff that he did, kind of like Walking Tall, or the Scorpion King, or when he was in the Mummy 2 as a Scorpion King, this kind of harkens back to that Rock, where they're just like, yeah, be stoic, big man guy.
Yeah, I can see some of that.
So, I mean, to me, I didn't really dig any of that. Like the fifth time that Hawkman and him fight, I was fucking over it. I mean, when they introduce these characters that, I mean, there's some cool elements to it. Like, there's some coolness to Hawkman, but, the ninth time he's like, but you can't kill people. Or he just like spins and hits people with shit. Like that got tiresome real fast. Then you have Dr. Fate, the most intricate and interesting character in the movie, and they don't explain shit with him at all. I mean, he is just an ethereal powered person and they just ignore that. You've got Atom Smasher, which is, I mean, they didn't even go for Walmart Ant-Man with him. They went straight to dollar store Ant-Man. It was the most boring thing ever. And then you have Cyclone, which could have been an interesting character, especially with how they did the powers visually, until you realize that every time she uses her powers, they go in slow motion. Every single time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
This movie repeats itself constantly. Black Adam says the same few lines 90,000 times. I'm not a hero. I murder people. I'm not a hero. Man in black. Blah, blah. The most annoying little kid I think you could have possibly ever cast in a film ever. I mean, there were times that they had some good themes and motifs in this movie, but then they like bring them up and then go, that counts, right? And then stopped addressing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got, I mean, but this is the problem with a movie like this. You have The Rock being it, but the problem is it doesn't matter because he is a villain to another fucking character. So I blame Sony for this because this is DC's version of Venom and Morbius. You kind of introduce him in Shazam, kind of, when they mentioned the other champion and all this other stuff before, but he was fueled by rage and blah, blah, blah. They kind of mention him. But in the end, why does this movie not really work? Because he's a fucking villain to a character that's not in the movie. And then on top of that, they go, we're going to triple down on this concept and introduce a villain at the end. I know this is a spoiler. I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to go that specific. That's essentially another version of him. Again. Like, fuck, man. Like, it's just the dumbest thing ever. You know, like, the funny thing is, there are times in this movie they bring up this movie's own stupidity. And I don't feel like they did it in an effective way. Like, when you look at the Justice Society's motivations, they get called out very correctly by characters in this movie. And then it's like the Justice Society just stands there and goes, Justice Society. And everybody goes, okay. Proved me wrong, I guess. And like, I mean, I don't know. I watched this movie, and as much as The Rock is pumping this movie up and hyping it and talking about it and so excited about it, and it's, you know, it's like the best first or opening weekend gross of a movie he's been the main character for. It's got one of the highest audience scores of a movie he's done and all this other shit, blah, blah, blah. He looked disinterested as fuck in the movie, though. Like, there was nothing to it. Like, it was just the most monotonous, monotone, unenergetic performance I've ever fucking seen.
Which is kind of like why when they talk about him being so like filled with rage and all of that, I'm like, he seems rather calm and even soft spoken for somebody who's supposed to be filled with rage.
Yeah, he is the most even-keeled person ever until he makes this face. And then you're like, oh, I guess he's raged mode now.
Yeah, I totally get that. That's a great observation about it. Where exactly was the rage? You know what I mean? He never felt like this volatile, like ticking time bomb, or this person who could just like, you know, he's just so angry with everything. He never seemed like that. Like you said, he was more stoic. He was more soft-spoken. He was like, I don't want to do that. And he would say things that are rageful, like you have to destroy your enemies and leave no trace of them. Yes, that might be something that a rage-filled person would say, but the performance wasn't rageful. He was just like, I mean, I think that's a great example. Like he would say, you have to destroy your enemies and don't leave a trace of them, or whatever he said. But that was like the tone. Like,
man, he said that like he was ordering meatloaf at Luby's.
Yeah, exactly. Like he just said it like it was so matter of fact. It didn't have any emotion. It lacked
Conviction.
so much like emotion, and it lacked the rage that you're supposed to have. But where in the world could he draw that from when the story doesn't really when the story itself is disinterested in those emotions. It's disinterested. It doesn't feel like they felt that those emotions were necessary for this character and to develop and to see that progression and the arc of those emotions. They didn't. The movie didn't seem interested in that at all. So, how could he possibly perform it?
No, you're absolutely right, Jastin. I mean, and that's the problem is like, you could tell he's disinterested. The story's disinterested. I mean, everybody's disinterested in fucking telling this story. Everybody's excited for you to watch it, but nobody wanted to fucking tell it. I mean, and when it goes down to it, we finally have like a very apples to apples comparison now of former wrestlers turned actors, especially when it comes to being in comic book movies, because The Rock hadn't been in one yet. Now he has. So now you look at it. You've got Dave Bautista. You've got Dwayne The Rock Johnson. You've got John You Can't See Me Cena. And for The Rock being the first one of this group of wrestler turned actors, he has officially, no matter what, he got lapped. I mean, Batista's better, Cena's better.
Yeah.
Even in their comic book roles, even if you just take it to comic book role only, Cena and Batista are better.
Agreed.
Yeah. But they also benefit from, they're way better written characters, man. They're just they are just way better written characters, and they are in way better written stories.
Yes.
It's hard to put it all on The Rock, but yes, you are right. Of those three, this is definitely my least favorite performance, for sure.
Yeah.
Of those wrestlers turned movie stars turned superheroes. Yes, this is definitely third.
Where I disagree with you, though, Jastin, is saying it's not The Rock's fault. He got cast as Black Adam in 2008. Yes, Heather.
Really?
2008.
Wow.
And this was something he pushed. All of this was his doing. He pushed for this. So, yeah, maybe in that sense, yes, it is his fault. But
you can't tell me he didn't have a say who the writer was. You know what I mean?
You're right. He would have had a say of who the writer is. So actually, yes, this is his fault.
The writer, director, everything. that ending that you're talking about, Jastin?
Kind of like the performance and how but you're right. I mean, he put all of this was his doing. So,
wow.
Yeah, it is his fault.
Yeah, that's what extra sucks about it. It's his fault. You know, like, it's just, I mean, and what you were talking about, Jastin, is this is supposed to be the new launching point for the DCEU. They are framing this to where he is essentially, this movie is launching the next era. This is the new cornerstone for like the next 10 years of DC movies. God, that sounds terrible. But I do have good news. It was announced today, I believe. Warner Brothers announced co-CEOs of DC Studios. I don't remember one of the guys, but the other guy is James Gunn.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe just if anybody is going to fix this bullshit The Rock has now put the DCEU in,
it's him.
It's James motherfucking Gunn.
Yeah.
He fixed Suicide Squad. I didn't think that was possible. He fixed Suicide Squad. And if I'm going to think anything, I'm not going to lie. This is the next Suicide Squad. The original Suicide Squad. This is the second coming of that movie. So maybe we will get a James Gunnified Black Adam movie later. Okay.
Peter Safran is the other guy.
Sure. I don't know who the fuck that is.
I don't either, but
I'm sure he's done
FYI.
shit, I guess. I don't know. I mean, that guy doesn't matter to me because you got James Gunn. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know? So
And that is exciting.
Yeah.
Because you know he can do quality storytelling. So you would think the storytelling would improve. Because to me, this is like just the most basic of superhero storytelling. This is just the bare bones, basic, just follow the formula almost to a T, like telling a superhero story.
This
If
is
anybody
early
could come in-
2000s superhero storytelling.
Yeah.
This is Ghost
like,
Rider.
you know how sometimes like you have back in school, you had a workbook and like, you know, each year they update the book. And it's like, didn't this feel like when you've got to use that, when you forget your book and the teacher goes, just get this one off the shelf. It's pretty much the same thing. And it's like 6 years old and it's not the same and the pictures aren't as detailed. And you're like, where are we reading from again? What mine says is completely different. That's what this felt like. It just felt like such an old formula. Like,
well, I mean, and that's exactly what it was, because this story is no different than Ghost Riders to me.
yeah,
Like the way they're telling the story, it's no different than that. It's no different than Ang Lee's The Hulk. It's no different than Daredevil, as much as I hate saying that. It's no different than these fucking early 2000s superhero films.
yeah,
It's just the same shit. And I'm like, you cannot do that anymore. You can't. We have gotten too many good superhero films. And what pissed me off is that they almost tried to at times. Like I said, they mentioned some really cool themes and some really cool ideas. And then 30 seconds later, fucking forgot it.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I also feel like the guys that wrote this, were they just watching Terminator 2 the whole fucking time they were writing this? You have the stoic motherfucker that's from a different time era or whatever, like out of place guy, that's just becoming best friends with the kid in 30 seconds for no fucking reason. And then just the kid teaching him catchphrases and he butchers it, but then gets it right. Like, and teaches him how to feel or whatever. Like, fuck off. Like, because you didn't even do a good Terminator 2, like, you know, homage. You just did the basic ones.
Yeah.
Like, this movie has potential. There is potential on this screen. It's just every time you thought they might utilize some of it, they would like just punch you in the face and go, gotcha. No realization of potential here, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
It just felt too easy. It just felt like the easy thing to do. Just.
Yet not
no
easy to
need
watch.
Yeah.
It's a conundrum.
Yeah. It was just like they said, well, what is the easiest thing we can do? Mention things, but not develop them. Have characters in it, but not develop them. You know, it was just, it really was. It was just the bare bones superhero storytelling. And it just felt like, what is the easiest way to get from point A to point B? And that was the path we took here, you know?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, and like at times, I think that like this was like in the workbook, like you were talking, Jastin. It's like a page. And it's like, hey, point A is like way up here. And then like point B is down here. And they're like, all right, draw a line from point A to B. And it's like they started drawing the line and got halfway across the piece of paper and went, man, fuck drawing this line. And then just folded the paper to where the line was now touching B.
Yeah.
They're
Yep.
like, fuck getting there. We're just going to move B to us and call it a
Yep.
day.
And call it a day.
Anyway, recommendations and scores?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recommendations and score.
All right, Jastin, the jazz man, Taylor.
Wow. I haven't been called that in a while.
That was a
figured
new
you
one, I
had-
thought.
That was
We're
a
calling
trip
back to
down
the early
memory lane.
2000s. What did you not get about this?
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, good reference. Very fitting for this. Yeah, if you like if your favorite comic movies are the ones from the 2000s, the early 2000s, that just we have evolved so much from since then yeah, I guess you'll like this. I
Jastin,
mean,
I think you tapped into something there. The tagline of this movie should have been, if you think comic book movies peaked in 2005, this is the movie for you.
Exactly. I mean, because it'll have everything you want. A MacGuffin, a fish out of water, a fight with a villain that is not developed but has similar powers to the hero. I mean, it's all there for you. It's all there for you. You know, if that is your comic book movie, cool. I think the reason why this is doing so well with audiences, and I think the reason why is because The Rock is just so damn likable, man. You know, he might be the only movie star where despite where he'll sometimes, and it won't be every time, but here lately, I guess it kind of has been. He'll be successful in spite of the film, you know, whether it's good or bad. The quality is going to be high in some and low in others. The performances are going to vary and stuff like that. But he is such a likable person, and he has such a faithful following, and he promotes the hell out of his movie. Now, that's another thing, too. He definitely is, a lot could be learned from him in how to promote something.
Well,
Because I swear,
I
go
disagree. I disagree slightly. He gave away a lot of this movie, though.
yeah, he did.
That mid-credit scene, he gave it away promoting the movie.
Yeah. And then he made a post, you know, with said person playing the character, talking about how, he's back now and all of this kind of stuff. And of course, we're going to talk about it in spoilers, but you know, that there was already, I saw a post from him about it online already. So there is that, but he definitely is king about promoting this. I mean, I saw so much Black Adam stuff before this came out. He talked about it constantly. They did this big tour, and every time on social media I saw leading up, like that 2 or 3 weeks leading up to this, I saw so much Black Adam shit online. And his workout clothes, there are Black Adam workout clothes.
This son of a bitch.
that you can order
No way.
and stuff like that. You know, it's quite comfortable actually.
Did you get that before you saw the movie, though?
Yeah. So people are going to be like, was the movie good? And I have to go, not really, but this workout take is comfortable.
Just wear it inside out, Jastin.
But I support The Rock, man. You know, I buy all this shit, man. So, I mean, I wasn't going to not buy it. But like, he is king at doing that. So, and he knows what's really important. And that is, are people going to come and spend money on it? Those people are the ones that matter. And as long as they say it's good, I'm okay. And that's why he can, you know, proudly post, look, it has a 90% audience rating, because the audience is not going to turn on him. He it'll be a while before he can just put out like a crappy movie and people go, well, no, this sucks. And, I'm not going to buy into The Rock. He just has that kind of connection with the audience where, like I said, successful in spite of. So I think if you like The Rock and you follow him and you like his stuff, I mean, of course you're going to see it. You probably already saw it. What did you say, Sterling? Highest opening for him ever. So you're not going to be able to tell him that this movie isn't good.
I would tell him. I'd look him right in his rock eyes and go, and like take up a newspaper, roll it up and hit him on the nose and go, no, it's bad rock. Don't do it again.
He'd give you the people's eyebrow.
He would destroy me afterwards, but I'd still do it.
Still do it. You still have to tell them the truth, right?
It's the principle of it.
So I think those people will enjoy this because they just enjoy him. And they just enjoy him and being a part of Team Rock and Project Rock and whatever he's doing. There are people just on board with The Rock, and they will say that they like this in spite of its flaws. That's just the truth. And you can point to all the evidence. You can say, man, this is a 2005 superhero movie. You saw this already in Wonder Woman, but you saw this ending already in this movie. You saw this ending already in this movie. And they would just still go, I liked it because it's him. I'm just convinced. But can I recommend this movie? And I'm sorry, I feel like I'm rambling now. I'll wrap this up. Can I recommend this movie as a good comic book movie? No, I cannot. But you already said it, Sterling. This is supposed to start and sort of streamline what we're doing with the DCEU storyline. So you got to watch it. You got to see. You got to watch shit. That's true. You don't have to. That is true. You do not. It is your choice. But if you are somebody that wants to follow all this and see where it goes, how are you not going to watch the launching point?
Man, watch the damn trailer.
There is that.
Just watch the trailer.
So there is that. Just watch the trailer. So it does have some appeal in that way that will keep people going to see it and watching it. But I can't recommend it as a good comic book film because if I told you this was a good comic book film, I would be lying to you. And unless you're one of those Halloween Kills people that like being lied to, you wouldn't like that very much. You wouldn't like me very much. Mm. So there it is. And like I said, I do like The Rock. So maybe, and I did like some of the characters. Some of the concepts that you're talking about, Sterling, that have potential. When the movie was focusing on those things a little bit, I did like the film at certain points, in certain bubbles. But ultimately, man, it's not good. And there was so much bad. So I'll go 50%. We'll go 50. Rock. Why do I like you so much? Because I probably should have just given this a lower score. But you get 50 from me because I freaking love you out of 100.
Heather, go.
I mean, and I will give you that. Like, if there was anybody else who was playing Black Adam, I mean, I would have liked it less than I already do because there is just something about The Rock. There's just something about him that you just like him. It doesn't matter. Like, I totally get that. He's just the most likable. Wasn't he voted most likable person in the world or something? It makes sense. It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But that being said, I can't, like, if someone were to be like, hey, should I watch this movie? I would be like, not really. Like, I just don't really, you can just kind of get the Cliff's Notes on it, basically, to find out what happens and what you need to know for what's going to come in the future. That's really kind of all you need. Like, it's just not, I don't think that the story unfolds in a very, not necessarily cohesive. It is cohesive, but it just wasn't as interesting the way they wanted to tell aspects of the story. They should have done it just a little bit differently, made it a little bit more interesting to draw you into the backstory of Black Adam or anything, or the backstory of any of these characters, you know? And I mean, I'll just say it now. Sarah Shahi, who plays the mom, she's the only character I feel like actually felt like a real person. And I think she was actually really good in her role. I think she had the best lines. I think she had the best motives. I think she did the best job in her performance in this movie. And she's not even a superhero in the movie. So I'm just going to say that, like, she's the only one when she was on screen that I was like really paying attention to what she was going to say or do, because she's the only one that really felt like a real person in this movie. That being said, though, I don't know. I feel like, and you guys are right, like they touch on some things that are interesting, but then they don't follow through. Like, case in point, even, you know, things that the mom was saying, like why she felt the way she did about Black Adam, or why she felt the way she did about the other groups of superheroes, made sense to me. But then they sort of immediately drop it and don't do much else with that other than her just stating why she feels that way. And then it's kind of just one and done sort of thing. I mean, it does have a lot of action. So yeah, if you're willing to look past the dialogue problems and the story problems in general, and you just want to see a lot of action, you might like this because there is a lot of that. But no, it's really not, it's not going to be memorable, even with The Rock in it. Like, it's just not going to be a memorable movie, I don't think, in any sort of way. And I saw this interview that someone was doing with people who had just watched the movie, and he was like, "Hey, so what'd you think? Like, you just saw Black Adam, right? What'd you think of it?" And this one girl was like, "It was a movie that happened," and like they just said, "Well, what was your favorite and least favorite thing about it?" And she was like, "The fact that the dialogue was what it was, and it got passed through several different processes of people to get like the green light to have that dialogue in this movie." She's like, "That's like my favorite and least favorite thing about this movie, because the audacity of it." But, you know, it was so funny. And I was like, yeah, I think that's accurate, because what in the world was this script really, though? It was so ridiculous. So yeah, all that to say, no, I don't really recommend this movie. I'm going to give it 40 fights in the room smashing up all of the DC posters out of 100.
I think that girl listens to this podcast because I've said very much similar things to that constantly. So I think she stole that from me.
It's possible.
I mean, fuck no, I don't recommend this movie. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if it's The Rock. If you're the biggest DC fanboy, I don't care if your dad is the man that created the Black Adam comic. Your character. You don't fucking watch this movie. It's bad. It is so bad. It is just so bad. I mean, no, just fuck all of it. Oh no, Jastin, I will give it 50% of your score, Jastin. So I will give this a 25. I mean, 25, you know, some shit happens on the screen that's technically from a comic book, I suppose, out of 100. So that officially, if I did my mathematics correct, the official Cinescore for this movie is a 38. So.
Nice.
Nice. You say nice. It got a 38. And you're like, nice.
Sorry, Rob. Sorry, man.
Jastin, if you were real.
More points, man.
If you were real, you should have not given it anything higher than Heather's score. And you know it. In your heart of hearts. I get it. You have a Rock bias, but
I do.
man, just it's not good. Anyway, yes. Spoilers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Okay, Henry Cavill's back as Superman. There, we did it. Like,
He's
and
so
that's the thing.
excited about it.
Well, I mean, I am about that. I actually don't think Henry Cavill's a bad Superman. I actually really like Henry Cavill. And I think if you give him a better script, he can be an amazing Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I am excited about is you've got James Gunn that's going to help,
Yeah.
direct. He might not direct the movie. He might not write the movie, but he'll be a producer and he'll help guide that. So we might get the potential that everybody sees in the Henry Cavill Superman character. We might actually get it realized. And I'm excited that he's back. So that's a plus. I mean, I don't know what fucking DCEU he's coming back into. But he's back.
Yeah. That was the one exciting, I guess you could say, I guess it's debatable on how game changing it is. I guess we'll have to see. The James Gunn announcement's a little more game changing if you ask me, but
that's a game changer. Because the reason why I would argue this is not a game changer is because he's coming back. I mean, and it's not like he left because he was like tired of it or whatever. They were just like, nope, we don't want to make more movies with you as Superman. He didn't want to leave. They didn't want him back. Yeah. So that's why I argue it's not a game changer. It's not like Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine for Deadpool 3. Like where you had just been like, you know what? I'm done. I'm never coming back. And then somebody goes, well, what about now? And you go, okay, I'll come back. He's just like, hey, I'll come back. Ask me to come back.
Right.
Yeah. He always said that.
And then apparently The Rock is the first person to go up to him and go, hey, Henry, you want to come back? And he's like, thank you.
I mean, and like a James Gunn, Henry Cavill situation would be probably awesome.
Yeah. And The Rock was really instrumental in that process of trying to fight to get him back and this, that, and the other, and this whole plan of fighting to get this movie and stuff. So to a lot of the fans' minds, they're going to look at this and go, well, what we could get from this is almost, well, really not even at this point, almost is better than this movie that we got. Like, so hopefully this winds up being like the, for lack of a better term, shit we have to eat in order to get to like the good stuff that could be on the horizon. Maybe this is the Hulk, maybe this is our Hulk movie before we get to the Avenger movies. Maybe this is our, what's a good comparison to this? Like maybe this is like our Batman forever before we got to the Nolan stuff. Hopefully this is like just this was really just the start of something. And so we'll look back at this and go, well, it wasn't great, but hey, at least we got this stuff now because of it. At least I hope that's what winds up happening.
And that's fair, Jastin. I mean, the thing is, though, like I get what you're saying that everybody like does give kudos to The Rock for making, it possible for Henry Cavill to come back. Because I don't know, like one thing that's universally been said, even with Batman versus Superman being shitty, even with Justice League being shitty, even with Man of Steel being mediocre at best, nobody hated Henry Cavill as Superman. At no point was anybody like, man, you need to recast the fuck out this Superman. no one was mad at that. We all have seen the potential. We know it's there. We want it realized. And we never felt like Henry Cavill is what was holding you back. You know, and you see him in Mission Impossible. You see him in A Man Called Uncle. You see him in the Witcher series. You see him in Enola Holmes. You see him just in interviews. You know it's there. Like, you see him in interviews talking about painting his little Warhammer figures and building computers, and that I hate how everybody loves to say that, oh, he almost missed out on Superman because he was playing WoW. No, he didn't. He just almost missed the phone call telling him. It wasn't that if he didn't answer that phone call, he wasn't going to get the role. Zack Snyder was just calling him to tell him he got it. So no,
that
he
would
didn't
be a terrible rule in Hollywood.
Yeah, like it wasn't like he was, like I said, oh, yeah, he didn't get the call. Guess we're going down to the next guy. No, that's not how it was going to happen. Zack Snyder was going to leave a voicemail saying, hey, Henry, congratulations, you're Superman. And his agent would have, you know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't have changed shit. But, but everybody sees that. That's kind of qualities you want in Superman. Like, you want that wholesomeness. You want intensity, but you want wholesomeness. You want sincerity. You want these things. And Henry Cavill has all of that. And it also doesn't hurt that he looks like he was chiseled out of marble.
Yep. And he's a geek. He's a fan of this stuff. Yeah, he likes this stuff.
Yeah, and you can't tell me that they couldn't make that into a successful Clark Kent.
Right.
Yeah.
The amount of nerdiness that is in that man, you can't make a lovable Clark Kent out of it.
Right.
This guy just doing interviews is Clark Kent, and just nobody can write a script of that. You don't even have to write the script. Put him in some glasses and go, hey, Henry, go act like yourself. Just use an American accent. Bam.
Exactly.
Clark Kent solved. Like, we all know it's there. So, you know what? You are absolutely right, Jastin. We'll give The Rock credit for that. He got DC to look at one of their dumbest decisions, and hopefully they'll fix it. And maybe we will get some really great shit out of it. I mean, if they end up doing a Black Adam versus Superman movie, and you've got James Gunn producing it because he's co-CEO, we might get what fucking Batman versus Superman should have been.
Yeah, very well could.
I mean, we might finally get DC might actually finally live up to its potential because of this. In some weird, terrible way. Like, why the fuck did we have to sit through this for this to happen?
I know. And then it'll give this movie it'll give it a relevance and sort of an importance that it probably doesn't deserve to have, but it will have. And that's crazy to think about.
Like, they'll say,
could totally happen.
Because they'll go, remember back in the day when the DCEU was in shambles because they couldn't release Aquaman, they couldn't release Flash, they had just scrapped Batgirl. Like, that's the state of the DCEU right now. And yet, this might be the movie that saves it. As dumb and terrible as this is, this might end up being the turning point. And it's just so weird. It's like you had to get to the lowest of lows before you could start ascending back up. But, maybe we'll get there. I don't know. We'll get into more spoilers in a second. But Jastin has alluded to us off podcast that he has a special movie theater story, all of the type of shit I end up having to bring up. And I'm just curious to know what it is. There's no better time than right now, Jastin. Then we'll go back into this.
Yes, and I'm glad that you reminded me because I almost totally forgot, and I would have felt so bad if I had got off the podcast and forgot to tell this story. okay. So normally I like to get to the movie theater a little early just because, to avoid bullshit. Because sometimes, man, when you're coming in late or, people in your seat, this, that, and the other, and even though these are reserved seats, you buy your seat. When it's a crowded theater, sometimes there's just extra bullshit. Sometimes there's just extra stuff. Sometimes the popcorn line's are long and you're trying to, and you don't want to miss the preview. So you're trying to get through the line, this, that, and the other. I just find that it's more problematic when it's a busier time. And I went on a Tuesday and the theater was still pretty much full. So, people are watching this. So, I mean, but anyway, I try to get there early. That unfortunately did not happen. I got stuck in traffic. It was like after 5 o'clock traffic or whatever. So, and there's construction all over Midland right now. And you know how it is with construction. You just can't, there's only a few paths. You can't get anywhere. So I got there like 5 minutes before the movie started, which I hate doing. And sure enough,
now, Justin,
I get
real quick,
go
just
ahead.
to paint the scene. Now, when you say 5 minutes before the movie starts, are you talking about showtime or like 5 minutes, like trailer's been running, film like Black Adam is about to start?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I should clarify. No, just showtime. So the previews hadn't started yet. This was 5 minutes before the preview. So, and even though I was running behind, I was behind for me. I was like, well, you know what? It's cool. I'm still here before the movie starts. So everything's okay. So now the seat that I selected was on the last row of like the stadium-ish seating. So it was the final row, and then you have like the bottom seats or whatever. So that's where I was. And I had selected a seat, and I saw whenever I went to buy the tickets, all the other seats on the aisle were taken, except this last one that was like on the corner. So I was like, okay, cool. It'll be fine. I'll sit there and I'll have all this space like to the left of me. It'll be great. If I have a jacket, I can sit it there, whatever. I'll have plenty of room on this side. So I like, even though I'm in there sitting by people, I just like room. So I get in the theater and, I've got my popcorn, I got my drink ready. I'm like, yeah, let's do this Black Adam. Let's do this rock shit. I get in there. I walk up to where I'm supposed to be sitting, and there is already a woman there, and an entire family is sitting next to her. And that open space that I was talking about, she's got this big baby stroller carriage right there, sitting right there in my spot, right? So I walk up and, it's always awkward when you got to do this and tell somebody, you're in my seat or whatever. And I'm like, hey, I'm number C10 or whatever it was. And so she's like, no, I'm pretty sure I'm in this seat. And I went, check your ticket, ma'am. I'm pretty sure you're not. And so like she, does the flashlight with her phone. She looks at it and then she goes 7, 8, 9. Oh, I'm sorry, I did move one down. And I'm like, okay. So she starts like grabbing her stuff or whatever, like she's going to move. So I'm standing there. The previews have started. So this is hella awkward. It's dark and, I'm sitting here trying to wait for this woman to move. And so she's picking up all this stuff. And in the middle of picking it up, she puts it down and she was like, look, can I please reason with you? Like, can I stay here? Because if I don't, like, I've got this baby stroller, and if I sit in this seat, there's not going to be anywhere for the stroller, blah, 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 blah. It's going to have to be in front of me and blah, blah, blah. It would just be so much more convenient for me if you just let me sit here and you could just sit next to one of my sons or whatever. Please, it's your seat, but, I'm begging you at this point. So I'm like, oh, so me, I'm a nice guy, whatever. Like the time it would have taken to try to tell this lady, I was just like, forget it. Okay, I'll sit there. What seat am I sitting in? So she shows me, I'm sitting next to her son. And, for the most part, it's okay. The whole movie goes, we get to the end of this movie. And this son has this pizza, right? Like he's got this, they ordered him an entire pizza and for his little self. And, he was not going to eat that entire pizza. So he eats like 2 or 3 slices, right? So this whole pizza's like sitting on his tray and everything that's right there for you right there. So the movie gets to the end and and I'm sitting here waiting for the after credit scene and everything like that. Or I guess in this case, the mid credit scene. So I'm sitting there and the way that I'm positioned is my seat was folded all the way out. And so I'm kind of up on the seat and and I've got my knees bent. So I'm kind of in a curl position on the seat. Sometimes I do that. It's comfortable sometimes. So my legs weren't all the way out. Thank goodness. Cause this kid, so like the family's packing up to leave and everything. They don't, I guess they're not those kind of comic fans or whatever. They don't know to stay for the mid-credit scene. So she's telling everybody to go. And she's like, hurry up, we're getting out of here or whatever. So her, the husband, and the 2 kids start packing up to leave. And this kid, like, as he's getting up to go, knocks over that entire pizza. And that pizza freaking falls directly on my extended seat. Like, it would have been in my lap. If I hadn't been, like, curled up, seated the way I was, that pizza would have just been in my damn lap or on my legs or whatever because of the way the seat was extended. But so at least I didn't get hit with it. But what didn't help matters was they walk off and they leave, right? And the mom sees this happen. And I'm looking at her like, are you going to even say anything to the kid for just knocking over this pizza into me? She was standing right there when it happened. And of course, she just kind of looks away and just walks away in silence as if she didn't see it happen. And I was like, man, after I gave you that seat.
I gave you my seat. Yeah.
After I gave you that seat. And now there's cheese and meatballs and stuff like that on my extended seat. So, I can't press it in and bring my legs down because there's like shit all over it. So I had to do a dip pull up and pull myself up on the seat and then sort of hop over like where I was. Like I had to hop over all of it and land on my feet to get out of the seat. Like it was just, it was like, okay, I give you my seat. And then to add insult to injury, your son who I sat by because of you spilled pizza all over my damn seat. And I'm sitting there, I jumped over it all or whatever. And I'm sitting there looking at it like, damn, man. And I just couldn't help but laugh because I thought about you, Sterling. And I was like, this kind of stuff is supposed to happen to you. This is supposed to happen to you. Kids are supposed to be spilling pizza on you. Why did this happen to me? And it kind of got a laugh out of me, even though it was annoying as hell.
See, do you know why it happened to you, Jastin? Because you gave up the seat you purchased.
You're right. You totally would have been like, get up. Yeah. You would have been like, no, your ass is getting up. That's my seat.
Yeah.
You would have totally, I know. And that's so true. Your ass would not have given in to the motherly pleas. You would have went, no, you got to get up. It's my seat. Do I need to call the attendant?
And the reason why I feel justified in that is because more often than not, I'm the first person to buy seats in my theater.
I get that.
Unless it's movies where they've pre-orders have been going on for the last 6 months or whatever, those types of movies. But more often than not, just normal movies, I'm the first person to buy it because I buy on Wednesdays. That's the last day that theaters have showtimes. Like they have their set schedules by Wednesdays. At least AMC's do. So Wednesdays, I buy my tickets. And I'm, like I said, I'm typically the first. So when somebody comes in and they're in my seat and they're like, well, you can go sit. And I'm like, no, I bought that seat. I have shopped show times before. If my seat's taken, the one I want, I've changed times. You know what I mean? Like I'm that picky about my seat. So I'm like, no, that is my seat.
Yeah. Your ass would have straight up been like, no, you moving.
Uh-huh.
And then you wouldn't have had pizza on your seat.
That's why
You
that's
would've
what I'm
been just
saying,
fine.
Justin,
Wow.
is that's what you get for being nice.
Yeah. That's what I get. That's what I get. But
I mean, yeah, I
anyway.
have to deal with kids and I have to deal with all the noise and all that other bullshit, but know what I've never had to deal with? Somebody taking my seat, being nice and letting them have it and almost getting pizzaed. Never had that.
Yeah. And it was funny because it was almost like, that's just, of course, this would happen. Like, just, of course, life would just be funny like that. Because the whole movie, the kids weren't acting up. Like, they were reasonably quiet, didn't hear a peep out of them. They paid attention to the movie. They were fine. You know, didn't hear them, or nothing was annoying about the family or anything like that. And we got all the way to the damn end, Sterling. All I had was the mid-credit scene. All I had was Henry Cavill. And then pizza.
How old was this kid is my question.
I mean, he looked about 4 or 5, you know?
Okay. So super young. Okay.
Yeah, super young. Maybe like
I was thinking
6
like
at the
preteen
latest.
for some reason. I don't know why I was thinking that.
No. If he was teen or preteen, he should have at least been like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir," or anything like that. That kid spilled that pizza, knew he did it, and kept walking. And then the mom kept walking. And I was like, I see where he gets it from.
Did the little kid do the little kid thing of knock the pizza over, looked at it, looked at you, looked back
Yep.
at the pizza and walked away?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Almost as if on script. Looked down, saw that it was all in my seat, looked at me, and then just kept walking, man.
Yep. Typical little kid bullshit.
And at least that's a little kid. He doesn't know any better. I looked up at the mom like, and then she just walked, and she, you know, it was one of those things where we made eye contact, but she looked away, kind of cut her eyes away, and she just kept on walking.
So she did the same thing her kid did, basically.
Yes. Yes.
See, that's the thing though, Jastin, is that little kid knew he did wrong. He knew better. Because he knows if he did that at home, it wouldn't have flown.
Yep.
Man.
I mean, I want to say though, can we all agree though that Jastin's story here was a better story than Black Adam movie was?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Pretty
for
much.
us, at least.
The adventure. You should have saw that hop, Heather. You should have saw that hop from that extended seat to...
It's like an action sequence, right?
Yeah, it was damn near an action sequence. Because I had to because if I had put my legs down or whatever, it would have just been cheese and meatballs and grease and everything else. So I had to jump out of that seat.
And
then an attendants came in cleaning up, and I jumped or whatever. And I bet anything those attendants that started cleaning up the theater were like, what the hell is he doing? Is he one of those stupid people that thinks he's a superhero? No, I was avoiding bullshit.
And then on top of that, they probably thought you were the reason for the pizza.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
And then when they got over there and saw it all, they were probably like, man, look at this,
This fool.
wasteful ass. Dude, it was like, I swear, it was an 8-piece pizza. 6 of those pieces were on the floor.
Why was a 5-year-old eating all of that pizza?
They just ordered the whole thing. Because you know how you order it and it's the whole damn thing. I don't know why they ordered it the whole thing for him. At first, I thought it was for him and his brother. But his brother had nachos or some shit.
So you guys before now have never traded seats with somebody that asked you?
No.
Sterling, that doesn't surprise me.
No.
I want to say It might have happened one other time, and I can't remember what the circumstance was. But
Yeah.
oh, I know, I remember. I was in there by myself. The family had to order, and so I like that middle seat. So I guess and it was a full theater. It was one of those. It was a busy theater, and I guess the family had to order the 2 seats to the side of me, and then 2 seats on the other side of me. So they did ask, could I sit there so they could sit together? It was something like that. It was something like that.
That noise.
I know this.
Fuck
Theo
'em.
wouldn't have done it.
I mean,
Fuck it.
I think the only time I remember doing it is it wasn't even something they asked me to do, but like it was during Toy Story 4 when it came out, which is obviously like tons and tons of kids. And this kid and his dad were at the movie together. And I think they were hoping that, whoever got that seat, like the seat next to the kid wasn't going to show up. And so basically the dad had my seat. And then when I came, he was like, okay, cool. And he was like telling his son, who's probably like 5, he's like, I'm going to be up there, maybe 7. He's like, I'm going to be back there, if you need me or whatever. And he had to go like 4 rows back from his son to like watch this movie. And I'm like, that's actually really sad. Like, I felt really bad about that. So I was like, dude, go sit with your son. Like, I don't want to sit next to him anyway, but like, I'm like, go sit with your son. Like, I am like in that circumstance. I mean, and it was technically my same seat I would be in, just like 4 rows back. And that's fine. So that's the only time I really ever did it, because I was like, your poor son's probably like, I want to watch this movie with my dad, and he just didn't have an available seat next to him. Like, that would just suck to be like, hey, dad, 4 rows back. Hope you're enjoying this movie. Like, it just was weird. So that's the only time I ever did it.
That's when you buy a different showtime. Like, what the fuck are these people doing?
I mean, it was opening weekend and they're children, so
I don't give a
know.
shit. Go to a different movie time. Like, these fucking people, like, what? Oh, well, let's hope this person in the middle of the seats we bought is going to be nice. Fuck all that. Go to a different showtime.
But you know what? I respect it, because he had this attitude of like, I'll sit here and hope they don't show up. But if they do, I'm going to just go to my seat. Like, he didn't fight it. He didn't even ask me if he could have that seat. He was just like, okay, this is your seat. Okay, I'll go to mine now. Like, and I think that helped, the fact that he wasn't pushing the matter. Like, he wasn't trying to switch seats. You know what I mean? Like, I think that kind of helped, that he was like, I'm going to respect what is supposed to happen. I was just hoping that you wouldn't show up, kind of thing,
I mean,
see, that woman with me, I wonder if that was kind of planned. I think it was kind of like, I got this baby.
With her saying like, no, this is definitely mine, and didn't think you would like fight her on it. I feel like that was on purpose.
Yeah, it felt on purpose. Especially after everything, it felt like it was on purpose. Like, that whole show of acting like she was gathering her stuff, I don't think she really planned to get up. I think the plan the whole time was, if somebody comes, I'll just have them sit over there.
See, it's because she got a nice person face.
Who, Jastin?
Yeah, they don't do that to me.
Yeah.
If I walk up and I have my normal face of...
Yeah.
And
they're like, I'm sorry, sir.
Especially if I'm sitting there. If I'm sitting already and they want to do the whole thing of like, oh, hey, can you like swap a seat so we can all sit together? They don't even fucking ask me. They see me with my normal grimace and don't fucking bother. Because I don't look like the type of person that would do it, which is a good thing, because I'm not.
Yep, because you're not.
I definitely
do. You need to teach me that grimace, man. You need to teach me that grimace somewhere.
Just
when they ask and I look at them, they're just like, oh shit. Well,
that's
put on your wrestler face when you're in competition.
Yeah, like, and the thing is that's just like, and it can be a movie I'm happy to see, but I'm typically by myself and I'm in my little corner seat and I'm just doing this. Get ready to watch my movie. Excited as fuck.
RBF.
Just give them that look like, why are you disturbing me? I'm here to watch a movie. I paid for this movie. Why are you disturbing me right now?
Yeah. I mean,
I need that face.
every theater should just block off that seat for me. It's the Sterling seat. You know, you just got to do that. Just kind of squint your eyes a little bit and stare up a little.
Like that.
And they don't fuck with you. Yeah.
I feel like they're not going to take me seriously with that.
Yeah, you're kind of doing a weird duck face. What are you doing with your lips, Cheryl? You look like an angry little kid. Like,
Yeah, who wants to mess with that? I don't mess with
You don't got to do
angry
anything
kid.
with your lips. It's all in the eyes. Yeah, just do my normal face.
I just look like I can't see. I'm just like,
That's my life. I don't ever really look like I can see.
anyways, sorry for the tangent.
No, it's fine. It's practically the same as this movie. I mean, Jastin had to do some acrobatic shit and there was an annoying ass little kid. It's the same as this movie.
You are absolutely right, and a
I don't
better
see a
story.
difference.
Better
Excellent
story.
tie-in.
Yeah.
Excellent tie-in.
Oh,
Yeah, thanks
dude,
for,
as soon as
hearing
you
me
started
out.
bringing up the kid thing, I was like, oh, great. We got a segue back. Shitty kid in real life, shitty kid in the movie. Oh, was that not also the most anticlimactic thing at the end of this movie? Whenever he's like, Kondak, we have to fight for our freedom. But he said it in like the lowest tone ever. He's just like,
Yes.
hey guys,
Yeah.
let's go fight for our freedom.
Yep.
Like, how
And
is
they're
there
all
not
like, "Of
somebody in the
course."
back going, I can't hear you?
Right. Even the person in the front, like it was so, yeah. And honestly, the same thing happened when Black Adam was in the sky and he was talking to the guy and he's just like having a conversation with him in a normal voice over the storm happening in the sky around them.
I mean, the argument there is superhuman hearing, even if they don't establish the power. I get it though. This movie weirdly did that several times where they were like, people perfectly knew what was going on in the distance.
Right.
Like at the beginning of the movie, when that kid does the DDP, he's like about to do a self high five. He's just sitting
I
there like
called it
this.
that too. I was like, he's doing the Diamond Dallas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's sitting there, he's like 9 miles away from everybody, and everybody just starts doing it. And you're like, how the fuck do you see what he's doing?
Right.
Yeah.
I barely saw that there was a kid up there. When they showed that angle from the ground and all the like the people doing that, like I'm like staring at the screen going, where the fuck is the kid? I can't even see him. You know? This movie was weirdly obsessed with children being like inspirational in a very weird way. They gave away the twist in the trailers also. Whenever Black Adam's like, my son died so I could be free. And then on top of that, you had The Rock's voice as the dad. At no point did you think that the kid was Black Adam. Even though they're like, oh, the kid became the champion. You never thought that was Black Adam. Ever.
Yeah.
You know? Like, you never thought that. But this movie loved acting like that was a twist. And I'm like, oh, the thing that's in the trailer where you hear the specific line of dialogue, my son died so I could be free.
Yeah. And they totally ruined that reveal in the trailers.
And
You just saw it coming a mile away.
They ruin it in the movie too by showing a bald guy talking like The Rock. Even though it's from behind, because they really thought these was secret. And at no point was anyone surprised by it. It is literally just the worst twist of twists. Because it just wasn't one. And like I said, the movie still acted like it was. And I'm like, that was pointless.
Yeah. And they had a better one with the whole reveal of, no, he didn't go there to liberate the people and everything. His son died, so he just walked in all strapped up on the Shazam and just murked everybody and just got
That's
banished.
not a twist though, Jastin. Because they told us that in Shazam.
Yeah, you're right. They did. They said that the champion didn't fulfill. Yeah. So if you remembered that, you'd know that somehow we had to get to that.
Yeah. That's the problem, is there was no twists in this movie, even though this
true.
This movie kept going, it's a twist coming.
And there's no other person that could have been, huh?
No, that
there's
was
only
Black
Adam, and there's only Shazam, and then the Shazamers or whatever they are.
Yeah, no, that is the story. That is Black Adam. That's what they were alluding to. Because, like I said, The Rock's been cast since 2008 as Black Adam. They were alluding to Black Adam because they knew this movie was coming. That was the whole point in the Shazam movie, was to allude to Black Adam with that. So none of that was fulfilling. The whole sequence, whenever he goes to jail, is just dumb. And he's escaping, and he's underwater and just floating, and then Shazam, and then like, that's dumb. Once again, going back to something I talked about in, the fuck was that Tom Holland movie with Mark Wahlberg?
Uncharted.
Yeah, that one. Why can we stop doing caves with fucking gigantic ass holes above them? Can we stop it? Can we, with the treasure right there? The treasure is out in the open. Can we stop?
And why would the hieroglyphs say, we hid the ultimate crown here? If it's supposed to be hidden, why would you why would you inscribe that you hid it here?
You know what, Jastin? I didn't even really realize that that's what was fucking happening in that scene. Yep. But you're absolutely right. Because I
didn't even think about that.
I mean, I was just sitting there going, it says that they hid it here?
You are right, Jastin. That's like the equivalent of just writing on a wall, hey, this thing that I don't want you to find, but you're looking for, it's here somewhere. I hope you don't find it.
Yeah, like.
And also,
what?
Like, they say that the wizards hide that crown, right? So the Shazam wizards hide the crown. Why do they hide it like a mile away from the shit that started it? Why don't you put it somewhere else in the world? Why don't you keep it in your cave that people can't get to? Why don't you put it anywhere else?
Yeah. And you're
That's
like,
a good point.
Black Adam, 10th Adam at that time. You're not the chosen one. We're punishing you and everything, and we're going to put you in this prison. But all somebody has to do is just say Shazam near it, and he's free?
I'll give him this, Jastin. Not too many people running around saying Shazam. In the DC universe, there's only 7 other motherfuckers that even know that's a word. So
true, but at any given time, though. But I mean, hell, she translated it and read it and said it. So, I mean, none of these infinite wisdom wizards thought that could be a possibility. Like, you are right. Though that is one of the big fallacies of the Shazam comics. But that's also something that the Shazam wizard can change. So there is a really cool Black Adam story arc. This little mini series they did with the Black Adam, where Black Adam's on some bullshit, but Shazam is the wizard. Like, he's the full Shazam wizard now. And so he changes, because that's something that the Shazam wizard has the ability to do, changes the word. So Death Adam doesn't know how to turn back into Black Adam because he doesn't know his word. And so he's just kind of lost without powers, and he's kind of like learning to be himself, but he's still fueled by vengeance and revenge, because that's a big thing with Black Adam. So it's like this really kind of cool story. And he goes to this malt shop, and he just sits there and goes, can I get a chocolate cream egg? And then bam, he turns back into Black Adam. And he goes, really, Billy? Because he's the Shazam wizard
but it's still a 10-year-old like Billy Batson. But it's also one of those things, it's almost the perfect word for somebody like Teth Adam, because you never expect him to order a chocolate cream egg, or a chocolate egg cream or whatever the fuck that drink is. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things. It was like a pure like circumstance. It was kind of a really kind of cool thing, but it's also what makes the dynamic between Shazam and Black Adam so interesting. They're practically the same power set. They're practically so similar in so many ways. But you've got this revenge-fueled monster, and you've got this child who has the power of the gods. So there's that dichotomy of super serious and super silly that they have done very well in the comics. Not always, but there are times you get a good writer that knows how to balance it and play off of it. It's actually really fun, and you get this, and you needed balance. They tried to have jokes, but the jokes always seemed mistimed. It always seemed like the wrong character said them. It just never really balanced. And there was kind of just too many just dopey jokes too. Like Atom Smasher knocking over that thing and going, and Hawkman looks at him, we're going to have a talk. And then later they do something and he's like, looks at him and goes, we're going to have a talk. I'm like, come on, this can't be this fucking joke again. Like, come on. Like, it's the same type of scenarios over and over again. And it's so disappointing too, because what we talked about, we might as well jump into this real quick. There were some really cool themes in this movie that they abandoned constantly. Like when the JSA gets there and they're like, hey, yeah, no, we're here to keep global stability. And then the mom's like, Intergang fucking invaded us 20 years ago and you haven't done a damn thing. But, Black Adam shows up now. You got some fucking problems. Are you serious?
Yeah.
You have problems with him murdering people, but you have no problem with this criminal organization taking over our country and stealing from us and exploiting us and murdering us. But you got problems because a superhero murders some dickheads.
That was the most interesting part of the whole story, to be honest.
Yeah. And if you had been brave enough to dive more into that, even just the whole concept of what is a superhero to people, how superheroes aren't seen as the same thing to everybody because they looked at the Justice Society as these people who won't intervene and won't help us. They're just poster boys and gals over there in America or whatever that won't help anybody, that won't help the people that really need it. And then them looking at Black Adam and going, well, I don't know him, but he handled some shit. So
like he just saved all the people
I don't like
in front of him.
Yeah, he took action and gave me hope. So I'd rather follow him than you. You had your chance to do everything. So even that dynamic was there and was interesting, and like how the people saw Black Adam versus how the Justice Society saw him. All that was there. And we just didn't touch on any of those things except just surface level shit. And it's so sad.
It got brought up just so they could say it. But they never developed it. They never utilized it. They never did. That was such a good thing. I really thought what was going to turn around the Justice Society when they first brought that up, when they're there and they're getting booed, but Black Adam's getting cheered. And that woman's like, the fuck are you saying you're heroes? He's our hero. And they're like, no, he's a bad guy. And he's like, hey, not to these people. I thought that they might actually get to a point in this story that the Justice Society changes and starts helping him because they realize what this country needs and what these people need is what Black Adam is trying to do, And, they like, that was what was going to change them. Not any other, doing the right thing in that instance was doing what was considered the wrong thing by their bosses, which is what they did in Suicide Squad. When you've got James Gunn behind you, you do the right thing in that story and you tell that part of the story.
Yeah.
You know what happens when you don't have James Gunn? And you got this garbage. You get this, where they bring it up, and you're like, "Fuck yeah, we're gonna get that story." Fuck yeah, that's a very deep and awesome story that is missing from superhero movies, and it fits so perfectly into them.
Yeah, and it would have fit so perfectly into this, and it sucks because that conflict between the JSA, the people of that country, and then everything going on with Black Adam, that conflict between the JSA and Black Adam, that's the most interesting conflict in the movie. Because I'd be damned if the conflict at the end with Crown Man, or whatever we're going to call him, that got the crown and became Hell Black Adam or whatever at the end. What was that? That villain was so damn weak. We didn't know anything. They explained his motivation in, I think, 2 or 3 sentences. And then they're like, here's the villain for Black Adam to defeat. I mean, he was so terribly done. There was zero investment in the conflict there. And then the real conflict you had that was meaty and juicy, we just glanced over it.
And the thing with it too is like, and the reason why it's so flawed, and the reason why the JSA storyline ended up just pissing me off, is because they are so obsessed with the fact that Black Adam is killing people. Hey, it's not their fucking country. Who gives a shit? Like, you don't get, like, you get into that dichotomy of why do you get to go tell another country what they're allowed to do and not do? But then on top of that, are you stepping into every form of killing? So if a country's at war, are you stepping into wars that are happening internationally? Are you stepping in every time countries around the world have murderers, regardless of whether or not they're superpowered or not? Because that's a bullshit standard. And then on top of that, when they're like, no, we care about justice, we care about this and that, they take Black Adam and throw him in a prison for eternity in suspended animation with no trial, no anything. And they are completely okay with that. Don't sit there and call yourself the Justice Society and sit there and say it's all about justice and this and that. And you are essentially imprisoning people forever. And they had hundreds of people in that facility. There were hundreds of people in there imprisoned forever.
Hell, go back to your own country. Are you even going to go after the Justice League? Because Batman has killed hella people. Superman killed Zod with no trial and nothing like that. Wonder Woman has killed people. Like,
Wonder Woman,
are you going after the Justice League?
Yeah. Fucking,
like, that y'all have done too much killing at this point to have this whole thing of this society, the Justice Society, being like, no, killing is bad. I mean, you can't do that here. You've done too much killing at this point. Unless you somehow develop those characters and see that's what we needed. Now, if those characters were developed and there was some sort of personal reason why they didn't like killing, if we had developed Hawkman and we found out there was some sort of integral story and reason, emotional reason why he doesn't condone killing. Maybe they did, but something happened and he vowed never to do that again. Like, that's what we needed, but we didn't have that shit. We were just like, oh, don't kill them because we're superheroes and we're not supposed to condone killing. That's Cliff Notes. That's the easy path. That's fold the paper to get to A to B bullshit. What you needed was an emotional story so we could understand why they don't condone killing. Not just the same shit we get all the time.
And honestly, get rid of Cyclone and Atom Smasher. They don't need to be in this movie.
They were so pointless in this movie.
Get rid of them and develop Hawkeye and Dr. Fate more. Because they were the only 2 characters worth a damn. And on top of all that, Cyclone not killing people was just sheer coincidence because she was launching construction materials at Black Adam. Like, I know she didn't think it'd kill him, but the movie even shows that almost kills the kid and the mom. Dr. Fate saves them. She almost murdered them.
Yeah.
But nobody had to have a talk with her? Fuck off.
And Atom Smasher was just like a bumbling whatever. Like, he just seemed so pointless. And I know that he's probably supposed to be so much more than that. But the way that he's painted in this movie, I'm like, why is he here?
Because he's supposed to be the comic relief. But he wasn't funny.
He wasn't. He barely said anything at all. And if he did, it wasn't funny.
Yeah, it was useless. Like, get rid of those characters. Just
and
get
I
rid
like
of them.
that actor. That actor is fine. And I was like, okay, cool. If he's going to be in it, but they didn't do anything with him.
No, it was useless. And, Hawkeye and Dr. Fate had the most potential and they never really realized it. Dr. Fate dying in the end was also one of the most obvious fucking things in the world because Pierce Brosnan's older. If he's signing up for this movie, he's just going, I'll do a movie. I'll get that paycheck real quick and I'll bounce. Because now if they go, hey, we want to do a Dr. Fate prequel, or because he's Dr. Fate, we can bring you back for another movie if you want, that gives him the power to come back if he wants or not if he wants. Pierce Brosnan's going to do that deal. What's his name? Aldous Hodge?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, come on. That guy's good.
He's such a good actor.
Why did you just have him screaming and constantly saying, you can't murder people? God, that's what I fucking said.
So much wasted potential. Like, at least with Dr. Fate or Pierce Brosnan, like, he still, was better than almost all the others, most of the others.
Well, they gave him a chance to shine.
Yeah, Aldous Hodge, they didn't. And that's so upsetting because he is such a good actor. Like, it's so wasted in this movie.
You guys remember how good he was in The Invisible Man? Oh, so good.
Yeah.
So good.
And in the One Night in Miami movie.
You're right.
He was so good in that.
Yeah, he played, what's his name? Jim Brown.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
He is really good. And it just sucks because they just had no interest in just giving us some sort of development. And that's what those characters needed. Like even Pierce Brosnan, I do think he was the most interesting of them because Pierce just played the character well. He acted the character well. He had some good lines with some of the other characters and stuff like that. And it really sucks because I get what you're saying, Sterling. Like, from a behind the curtain standpoint, yes, it does make sense that he would be the character that dies because of Pierce's age and stuff like that. But man, from a story standpoint, I didn't see why anybody had to die in this.
You are absolutely correct. No, this is 100% right with that, Jastin.
Yeah, but this is that kind of movie where you didn't even have a strong enough villain at the end. He didn't need to kill anybody. That
what
movie
were the
could have just
stakes
got
of it?
dusted.
Yeah,
right.
You are absolutely right, Justin. The story didn't earn Dr. Fate dying, but the movie told you one of them was going to die. So you knew it was Dr. Fate.
Exactly, yeah.
But no, you are 100% right, Justin. This movie did not earn a Dr. Fate death.
Not at all.
Especially
and Dr.
not
Fate
in
is
that bitch of a villain.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought his ass was going to appear back from out of that mask or something. Whenever the whole thing happened with Hawkman and I saw all the images and stuff, and he was like, I got this from an old friend or whatever. I thought somehow, for a moment, I thought he might just come back because I'm like, surely they're not going to kill anybody in this for this villain that we don't know and barely met. Like,
he wasn't even a scary villain.
Kill somebody.
Like, he wasn't even scary because, even when he's in his demon form or whatever, and the voice they were doing for him when he was in that form, I literally laughed. I was like, what is this? What are they trying to do here? He was not a good villain at all.
Why did this
Yeah,
version
and even
of hell?
like his motivations, like, well, I'm the descendant of the people that Black Adam destroyed and all of this stuff. Well, I mean, but it's been what, 5,000 years? You still mad, bro? Like, can we get some perspective
Like,
on it?
And the thing is with it too, is how did this family keep the exact wording of this legend accurate enough for 5,000 years to where
Yeah.
he knew exactly what to do? Also,
Right.
they imply something that is kind of a failure in this movie when they're like the whole like life leads to death and then death leads to life aspect of it. And he had to be killed to go down into hell to get the demon wizard's powers to come back as Red Adam. Why didn't he just have a guy shoot him then? Just get shot. Get the crown and go, all right, bro, it's time. Shoot yourself in the head. Why do you have to get electrocuted? You know? And the thing is because I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to imply that was needed as like the magic of the Black Adam was needed, like the Shazam magic was needed as like a part of the curse. But then that doesn't explain the guy's reasoning at the beginning of the movie when he was just trying to get the crown so he could become that. There wasn't a champion until after the crown was made. You know what I mean? There was no...
True.
So that part of it falls through. It's a bad plan. Because why? They didn't actually fully execute anything in this movie. They just kind of threw some shit down because they wanted to have The Rock doing some, like, you know, beating people up shit. Too much of this movie was also spent him either fighting Hawkman or fighting normal ass people. He fought so many normal ass people.
Yeah.
And that is a boring movie. Like when you see it, it reminded me so much of Venom, the first Venom movie. When they're like, oh man, look at this cool action scene where Venom fights all of these SWAT cops in the smoke. That first scene when he shows up and starts murking all those people was the same damn thing. You just kind of see him floating around in the background and beating up people. Just normal ass people. And also, it's 2022. Do we still have to have that scene of the big intimidating guy hitting the superpowered guy with a pole or something and it bending and then going, oh no? Do we still have to have that scene? Is that still something that's necessary? Is that still something that people think is actually effective now?
Yeah.
Because they sure love that scene in this movie.
Yeah. Just pull it from that old book, man. Just
And
that
also,
old book.
Dude, why would they started shooting him in that cave? And he's just standing there, not even looking at them. Did they just keep shooting him? At what point do you go, this is not working? Would you do you shoot until your gun is empty and then just run away? Maybe that would be the logic. I'd maybe understand that. But these motherfuckers were reloading, going, nope, clip number 2. That's what's going to do it. He can only take 9,000 bullets. So let's just keep shooting him until we get to bullet 99 and then he's going to go down, or 9,000. Then he's going to go down. Like, that's the dumbest thing ever. And also, why did they have him get affected by that magical rock shit and get knocked out just for him to wake up, heal himself from it, and then never be a thing in the movie again?
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
What was that?
Agreed.
What was that? I mean, you're totally right about that. And like, really quickly, I want to go back to the kid, the Terminator 2, John Connery kind of kid. Like, because I was thinking about this, and you can just tell me if this is stupid or not. But I found it weird that he was this kid who was like, heroes, we need heroes and stuff like that. Now, his mother said that the husband died, right? Doing this liberation shit, right? Like he died.
I don't know if he died from liberation shit, but he was killed by Intergang, regardless. The people they wanted to be liberated from, they did kill him. I just don't remember if he was doing liberation shit and that's why they killed him.
Yeah, I can't remember her exact wording, but I want to say whenever she was confronting them and talking about it, these people, blah, 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 my husband was killed. I want to say that, well, at the very least, he was killed doing that. I just found it weird that this kid, like, he idolizes all these heroes and stuff like that, and of course I get that we need a character. We feel like we need a character that knows all of that so that he can inform our fish out of water of what he's supposed to be and stuff like that. It's the textbook superhero stuff. But man.
Oh, you mean the exact same thing as in Shazam?
Yeah, exactly, right? Yes, exactly.
Right down to it being an 11-year-old kid in both movies.
Yep, exactly. Except in another country. And it sucks because, like, what would have been cool is why couldn't his dad have been, like, his hero? And so, like, because of, the liberation and everything like that, why couldn't he have saw his dad as a hero? And maybe the reason why he knew that comic shit is because his dad was the one that introduced him to that shit. And maybe he saw Black Adam as, like, when he looked at Black Adam, he kind of saw his father. Not in the same way, but maybe his father had some of those qualities and stuff like that. Like maybe he just saw, like, there are certain things about you that remind me of him. Maybe his father had the same dry humor or whatever or something. Maybe there's something, in some way, he just looked at The Rock and he saw his dad because he is a superhero. My dad got me into comics. My dad died for the cause. Like, maybe that's what draws him to The Rock.
There's a way simpler thing, Jastin. His dad's the person that told him the story of the champion that saved Kahndaq 5,000 years ago.
Yeah. That totally could have been
the champion my dad told me about.
Yeah, my dad told me about you, and that's how I know this. And that's why I'm invested in this, because my dad died and I've been looking, my mom and I, we're doing what we can, but he looks at The Rock and he sees all of that and it reminds him of his dad, all of it. And so why not give this kid something other than just the same shit we get all the time, and you had the ingredients right there.
You can streamline it even a little further. The kid, like the dad is the one that told the kid the story, and the dad, because of the bullshit Intergang had been doing, the dad thought that it was the person that was the original person that was like, it's not just a story. It's real. The champion's there. I just have to find him and I can save Kahndaq. And you know what I mean? And Intergang kills him while he's searching for him. While he's like trying to find the cave and all that shit. And then the mom takes over the thing,
Yep.
And all this
the
other
mom
stuff.
takes over. Yeah. And now you have, they have layers. They have investment. That's something we could see that and get behind and be like, man, this kid. And the cool thing about it is that it would have been this kind of cool, like full circle kind of thing with Black Adam because of the relationship he had with his kid. Why didn't we have those things in here? Like, I just feel like a better writer would have had a way to put all this together because you had the ingredients right there in front of your damn face. And we didn't do that.
I think part of the problem is that maybe those elements were in the script And then as they started filming and they got to the point to where they were almost going to film those scenes, they realized that that kid's not as good of an actor as they thought he was. And they scrapped it.
Could be.
Because I did not understand so much of that. When he gives that inspirational speech of like, hey guys, let's go liberate our country. Let's help Black Adam. Okay. He spoke at that volume to a crowd of people being attacked by zombie monsters.
Yeah.
Like, also, why the fuck were there zombie monsters? Why did the writers of this movie rip off Terminator, but then also rip off The Mummy Returns of the Rock in a fight at the end and monster zombie things fighting people outside
that disintegrate when the monster head is dead. Yeah.
It's like they just go, man, The Rock, a desert, final fight means we need some zombie monsters too. It's like, fuck, man. Like, it's so fucking tiresome.
I mean,
sorry, my cat started biting me.
I mean, honestly, like, that's another one of the biggest problems with this movie is that Black Adam's, his character just feels like he has no conviction or motive. Like, I mean, he does because we're told that he does. But if we weren't told his story of like why he's doing what he's doing or why he is who he is, it would just take that whole part out, take his whole backstory out with his son. Like, you wouldn't know any sort of motivation that this guy had. Like, you wouldn't even know that he's motivated by rage because he's not even an angry person. Like, if he was, you'd be like, oh, he's angry about something. That's why he's so adamant about all these things. But he's not even an angry person. Like, he's so calm every time he talks. So calm. It doesn't make any sense for somebody who's rage filled because their son was killed. And like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it's just so like the opposite. Like, the character that Black Adam was in this movie is completely the opposite of what we're told he's supposed to be like. And if that was on purpose, they should have still done that better. My guess is it wasn't on purpose because, like you said at the beginning, Jastin, like, The Rock kind of toned down, his energy level and things like that because, yeah, he is trying to be like, this darker character or whatever. But like, I don't know. I just feel like the conviction of why he's that way was missing completely from this. And it bothered me because I'm like, how am I supposed to take you seriously as somebody who's like driven by anything when you don't sound like you're driven by a single thing? So it was just very frustrating.
Well, also, I don't really understand the difference of mentalities between The Rock earlier, like when in the past and The Rock as Black Adam. Like,
yeah.
Because whenever he was like a prisoner slave person, he was just like, oh, freedom's for the birds and all this other stuff. But then he got transferred the powers and then he goes on the revenge killing of the king. Where did he become cocky and all about smiting your enemies and nobody can take me and I am the most powerful being ever? Where did that aspect of his personality come from?
Right.
Because that's not in the story. At no point in this story does that conversation he's having with the mother when he's like, well, who's going to teach him how to destroy his enemies then? That's not the character of the dad. When he was the dad. And the only difference is that when he got the Black Adam powers, he went and killed some guys. He went and killed the king. At no point was he ever really challenged or anything like that to where he'd be that cocky. You know what I mean? Like that aspect of the personality doesn't line up. You give him that personality because you have The Rock. And The Rock can kind of feed that by his just presence to have that kind of cocky personality. And what you expect from like The Rock, especially if you're a wrestling fan, you love the cocky Rock. So you get that part. I get why they wrote that in. It's just like, why didn't you give him like 5 lines of dialogue that show that.
Right.
Or like, why don't you establish that? Like, why don't you have it to where he is a freedom fighter, but because of his attitude and all these things, and because he was so angry and so malicious, that he wouldn't be the champion, but his son, who had better traits and wasn't like his dad, was the champion. You know, maybe like he was too fueled by revenge, and he wanted to wanted to kill the king for revenge, but the son wanted to do it to liberate the people. You know, even like say, all you do is you have the mom get killed by the king. And so the dad becomes like the leader of the resistance, but he's fueled by anger and revenge. But the son's like, no, I miss mom too, but she's not the only person the king has killed. The king has been killing our people. We need to liberate our people. It's not just about mom anymore. It's about everyone. And that's why he's the champion. But the king's going to kill the dad. And, so you have that aspect of it where I transfer my powers to you. And then the son dies. And then, you know what I mean? That's a real easy fix.
Yeah.
You don't have him being this meek little asshole and then turn into that Black Adam.
Right.
There's no, that's where we're talking about they fold the paper to make it easier. For that aspect of the story, they went, all right, here's point A, here's point B, and then they wadded it up and threw it away.
Yeah. And he hadn't come back in 5,000 years? Like he hadn't been surfaced again for any reason before then, right? He's so like perfectly knows the lingo of what's being said. He knows the dialect perfectly. Like what? Like how?
Part of that is supposed to be in the character Shazam. It's the wisdom of Solomon. Okay. So the argument is that there's an Egyptian version of that aspect. He's got wisdom of a god.
Okay.
Therefore, that's why he can all of a sudden speak English. He understands stuff. Technology doesn't throw him off. He learns it. He learns that aspect very quickly. He can adapt mentally that quickly. That's part of it. But you are absolutely right, Heather. A better movie, somebody should have gone, fuck, you speak English great for being, not around it for 4,600 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you are absolutely right. That line of dialogue should have been in this movie. I hate the fact that I know enough about the comic that didn't quite faze me. It should have. But because I know the character, like, I'm not saying I'm a Black Adam expert or anything like that. I've read some Black Adam comics. I know the correlating factor between like his acronym for Shazam and, the other one's acronym for Shazam. Like it's the what used to be Captain Marvel, now just known as Shazam. It's all based on Greek characters, except for Solomon. I don't get that. They're very weird. But then, like I said, then Black Adam's was more Egyptian based mythological characters. But it's like I said, but it's all based around the strength of this god, the wisdom of this one, the agility of, like, it's all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Also, like, I'm really sad that they felt so much the need to explain their jokes in this movie. Like, I just feel like they kind of went out of their way to explain to you why they were trying to be funny in the moment. And I'm like, why? You're making it worse.
And they just had some of the dumbest, like, so much of The Rock's dialogue was one-liners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like he was doing a bad Mitch Hedberg impression.
Yeah.
Because it's just like zingers. Just zingers constantly.
And also, like, the fact that he so easily and quickly gave up his powers. Like, it didn't even feel like he wanted to put up a fight. He was just like, okay, I'll do it. Like, it just was like, what? Literally, what is your motivation for anything? Like, it was not tracking for me.
And and with that aspect of it too, is that not a tiresome trope also? A hero losing their powers at the beginning of the third act.
Yeah.
Can we stop that one too?
I tell you, man.
So many superhero movies have gotten you into the third act with their fucking hero powered up. You know? Like, and they didn't even do it in an interesting way. Like that I would argue that Iron Man 3 did a little bit better than this. Like when Tony Stark doesn't have an armor going into the third act. And he's learning to adjust to it because he had been so powered for so long with the armor that it was a crutch to him. And so he had to relearn what it was like to not have it and to like more or less re-earn it in that regard. That made it somewhat interesting in that same trope. But this was just okay, I'm done being Black Adam. Okay, I guess I'll be Black Adam again. Like, come on. This is fucking Superman with the kryptonite necklace in the swimming pool all over again.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and I have a question too. I don't know if this is actually a thing or not, but like, so when Dr. Fate dies, you know, the Hawkman uses his helmet to trick the bad guy. And then way later, the helmet disintegrates. Why wouldn't it have disintegrated like right away?
Convenience.
So he can use it.
Yeah. Because I mean, I'm like, I don't read the comics. So I'm like, is that a thing where it's like, you know, it will be around until they last need it, and then it'll just, I don't know. No. You know what I mean?
The thing is the helmet.
It was totally exactly what you're saying. It was just them going, it would be cool if this happened with zero explanation. Right. Reason for it to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
That's, you know, when Jastin's like, you know, talking about the plot conveniences of Halloween Ends, it's like we can't go 2 weeks without talking about stupid ass plot conveniences. Right. I mean, it really is that, because that's the helmet. I think helmet of destiny or helm of destiny, whatever. That's not even how it works in any way, shape, or form. When you put it on, you can never take it off, ever. Like, so once again, this is the tired trope of heroes finding every reason in the world to take off their fucking masks / helmets.
Yeah.
And they did it just so they could keep reminding you that, oh, we got Pierce Brosnan to play this. Like, you know, that was just the only reason why they did that. Because, I mean, he wouldn't have cared. You would CGI him out anyway. He wouldn't actually have to wear a helmet when they filmed it. They could, you know, CGI that shit in. He don't give a fuck. But that's solely why. And then on top of that, like, that's the whole thing. You put it on, you can't take it off. It's a blessing and a curse because, yes, you become one of the most powerful magical beings with all this, like, infinite knowledge. But then you also know fate. And you can never not know it. Like, it's like a constant thing. And it's like the downfall of being Dr. Fate. And it's a very tragic character, but he still wants to be heroic because he wants to do the right thing. But
yeah,
he constantly sees his friends die in all these different ways. Now, it's not always set in stone. Like they said in this, it's not too late to change the future. It's just the current events you're going on. This is the outcome. You know, that type of scenario. But he's constantly filled with the images of his friends and everybody he knows and loves dying constantly. And he can never directly intervene, but he can type of stuff. It's, you know, those big fucking plot conveniences they do in comics when it comes to fate and all that other stuff. But, you know, so like there's those things with it. But it's like one of those things with it too. Like in the beginning of the movie, they're like, don't touch the helmet. It could be like the worst imaginable thing ever. Hawkman could just pick it the fuck up though. Do some magic with it.
Yep.
It makes no damn sense.
Yeah. Why could he just do that? That didn't make any sense after they said it was dangerous, you know? And it just sucks because it just feels like wasted potential because some of the fighting with Dr. Fate was cool and him splitting into all these images and doing all of that kind of stuff. You know, now granted, even though Dr. Fate predates Doctor Strange, you just kind of can't help but sit there and go, he's the Doctor Strange of this, like it's which is unfortunate.
Exactly. And with that too, the funny thing is with that is my biggest critique of the first Doctor Strange was that it's just those magical whip things and like magical shields. And that's like peak magic and teleportation shit. Like that's it. That's all they do. All of them, even the most powerful wizards, they all do the same, or sorcerers, they all do the same shit. And then you get this guy and all he can do is make everything kind of shiny and make copies of himself. And it's really cool the first few times you see it until he does it for the 9,000th time. And then Hawkman goes, I'm going to do the same thing too. And you're just like, oh.
So it didn't even feel special to him. And like there was one time where like he made this entire illusion, like he made Kondak. Is that the name of the place where we were? Something like that, right?
It's a fake country, so it's hard to remember.
Yeah. But whenever they were fighting the Rock and he made it look like the Rock's home, that was tight. Like, why did he do more stuff like that? Show more visions and stuff like that. I mean, and even in Doctor Strange, there was that whole visual style of the Mirrorverse and all of that kind of stuff with the shit being upside down and all of that kind of crazy stuff, like it would have just been cool to see more psychological stuff with Dr. Fate other than just the simple, I'm going to talk to this person right now in his head. I mean, it's just all shit we've seen before,
Like, yeah, and it's just, and like, it was just, and it was, the unfortunate thing is it was all shit we also already saw in the movie. Like, like I said, this movie repeats itself constantly,
Yeah.
And it never ends up feeling fully fulfilled. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, I'm done with this movie. Do you guys got anything else?
I don't think so. No.
All right. On that note, thank you guys for listening to the Cinema Slayers podcast, or this episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. Oh my God, I can't talk anymore. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. Check us out on the internet at www.cinemaslayers.com. Cinema Slayers podcast on Facebook, Cinema_Slayers on Twitter and Instagram, Cinema Slayers pod on TikTok, Cinema Slayers podcast on YouTube. Give us a 5-star rating and review. We'd really appreciate it. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that bell notification, all that YouTube shit. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your friends' family, tell your family's friends, and most of all, tell those dear sweet mothers, because dear sweet mothers love.
I mean, gotta be The Rock. It's gotta be.
It's fair.
Or Pierce Brosnan, honestly.
Or Aldous Hodge.
Or yep, also true.
There's lots for mothers to like now that I think about it in this movie.
Just not the movie itself.
Yeah. Shout out to Plug Migo and Mundo Ochoa for our theme song and logos respectively. Just remember, here at Cinema Slayers, we are pro slut and pro Sydney. And as I end the podcast, TikTok and YouTube videos, just remember, according to Jastin, Moon Knight is the best picture winner.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say in this part.
Nobody knows anything but you.
Amanda Waller, right? Is that who Viola Davis plays? I'm glad at least she thought that the Justice Society could take Black Adam, but that's way better than her thinking that the Suicide Squad could beat Superman. So, I mean, at least she kind of moved up in her thinking on that,
But then now she's on buddy terms with Superman, apparently.
Yeah, how did that happen?
Now she knows how to tell Superman where to go.
Damn, you're right. I didn't even think about that. When did that happen?
And why is Superman teaming up with somebody who is just a homicidal maniac like Amanda Waller?
I know. She is like the worst person. how is Superman doing anything she says?
Right.
Yeah.
She has a team designed to kill him. And he goes, "Now we can be friends." The fuck is this movie? I can't believe you gave it a 50, Jastin.
I like The Rock.
I think
Yeah,
he feels very
but
disloyal if he
sometimes-
gives The Rock anything less than a 50%.
But sometimes, Jastin, loving someone is telling them when they're wrong.
What were you going to do? You're
It's
going to
true.
newspaper, roll it up, and hit him on the nose?
Yes, and tell him he's a bad rock.
But you just have to tell him but you don't always have to be so harsh about it. You can just kind of lay it on him gently, like, it's not that great, man. It's not-
What's going
Oh,
on,
my.
buddy?
No, Jastin, it's because do you want this man to be another Russell Wilson? Too many people telling him he's great?
No, please, no. Nobody
Then don't
wants
start it. I'm not saying he's down that road yet. I'm just saying don't be one of his yes men. That's all I'm saying.
You're right. And it wasn't all him, though. I tried to give some points to the stuff I liked. I liked the Justice Society. You know, I liked them.
I liked
just,
half of them.
You know, I liked the aesthetics. I liked some of the action sequences.
You know what? That's fair,
I
Justin.
just-
This
you know-
movie didn't look bad,
Yeah.
It didn't. It didn't.
with the
did.
exception of the whole hell and the Deem Shazam. That was just
and way too much
generic as
slow
fuck.
motion shit.
God, that
Mm.
cyclone slow motion. It was every damn time.
Yeah.
They didn't even try to not do it in not slow motion.
It could have looked
Hmm.
really cool, not in slow motion, too.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you really want to show the destructive power of being a wind kinetic or whatever the fuck she called herself, show it at full speed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just show it.
Also,
show it.
in case anyone's interested, with the DC news, so Peter Safran, the other one that's the CEO, he was the producer of lots of the movies like the Suicide Squad, Aquaman, one of the other movies, DC movies. Oh, Peacemaker. He was a producer on that. And he was a producer of all of the Conjuring films. I had to look up who he
Okay,
was.
so he's friends with James Wan
Hmm.
and Peter Gunn or James Gunn.
Yes.
All right, you know what? That's not terrible.
Hmm.
Okay.
I don't really like the Conjuring films, but I mean, overall, I do like James Wan as a director.
Yeah.
So if he believed in James Wan, I'll give this guy a chance.
Right. And I mean, producing the Peacemaker show. I mean,
Yeah. No, that's always a good thing.
and the Suicide Squad.
So
Mhm.
the last really good thing I think I've liked out of DC was
Mm.
Peacemaker. So I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And honestly, the next thing I'm looking forward to, honestly, like in the imminent future when it comes to DC, Peacemaker season 2 is the only thing I'm looking forward to. So,
Mm.
all right, I'm out of here.